What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Today is my non-spoiler review of Superman Red Son. This movie dropped today. It's based on the 2003 comic book run. I need you in the comments down below. Were you looking forward to this movie? Is it one that you have an attachment to? And let's get right into it. So, set in the thick of the Cold War, Red Son introduces us to a Superman who landed in the USSR during the 1950s and grows up to become a Soviet symbol that fights for the preservation of Stalin's brand of communism. So this film stars Jason Isaacs as Kal-El, Amy Acker as Lois Lane, Diedrich Bader as Lex Luthor. I love that casting decision. And then a lot of recognizable voices, also a lot of recognizable characters and faces on screen, but you almost have to look at this, well, you do have to look at it as an Elseworlds situation. This is a completely different version of all of these characters. They all have different ideologies, mentalities, personalities. It really is like what happened in the alternate universe version of some of these characters, and we've seen them tackle that in the animated world before. They're doing it right now on the CW. Now, I'm not keeping up with those shows. There's a lot going on over there, but we've seen it in comics plenty of times. But this is actually based on the story from Mark Millar, and it's a recognizable, at this point, since it has been, 17 years now, it's a recognizable story. Now, personally, I haven't read the story. I've heard so many things about it, and I've read plenty of comic book runs in my day, but this is one that for some reason I just haven't gotten to. And the vibe, the talk that I'm seeing and getting online, some people are not happy with how they handled this story on the small/big screen, and then some are like, yeah, they did a pretty good job with it. It is, from what I've heard, such a layered story to where they're focusing on way more of the political aspects, and they're making things more even as opposed to pushing the U.S. maybe a bit more like they do in this animated movie, this and that. Then I'm also seeing some online get really upset at the fact that this is a Russian Superman. There's some talk that it's kind of like a today's time political agenda being pushed, and I'm just sitting back going, but it's 2003 when the story came about, and apparently they're taking pretty much everything from that story. They're just not diving as deep as they did back then. So just to avoid the political aspect, how did the movie play for me? And I actually had some fun with these characters. I had some fun seeing different versions of who we know and love, down to a Wonder Woman, down to a Batman. And let me tell you, this is not Batman. I mean, it is Batman in the story, but it's not who we know, because this guy is ruthless in his tactics, and his ideologies are so far separated from the Batman that we know and love. So when he first comes on screen, he does something that is honestly terrifying, and you're just, okay, that's not Batman. But then again, we have to almost reset our brains when we're watching this film, when we're starting out, saying, these are not the characters that we know. These are different versions. So because I did that, it didn't bother me as much. I wasn't a fan of this Batman, but it was more me not being a fan of what he did. I was a fan of the twists and turns that they had on all of these characters. You get Wonder Woman, Green Lanterns, a new-ish version of Bizarro, something that we've never really seen before other than this story. Superior Man, which I thought was extremely interesting. And then Brainiac. It is pretty much the same Brainiac that we've seen before, but this time we have a new idea that we want to push. And it really does, what I said before, it doesn't focus as much on the political aspects as maybe I wanted it to, but it does still hit on all of those things. We hit on communism. We hit on the fact that Stalin is the leader right now in Russia, and Superman starts to find out certain things that are going on behind the scenes that even Superman doesn't see happening. They can always find ways around that, and you'll see that in the story. And I found that to be really fascinating. One thing that kind of caught me off guard about this story was Lex Luthor's character. And not to say that there are normally not good intentions with what he thinks he's doing, and what he thinks he's doing is normally right, correct? But this time, he's not really a villain in this story. At times he's a villain, and at times he comes across as the Lex Luthor that we love to hate, right? But it's a very different interpretation. And obviously, all of these interpretations are different. But this one was so different and so not who we know Lex Luthor to be, because even Batman in this story, he has this thing against Superman. approaching it from a very different perspective, but we know that to be a character trait of Batman. I didn't really see, other than I want to be the leader of the free world and all of this stuff. Obviously, those character traits are going to be there with Lex Luthor, but I didn't really see the villainous intentions as much as maybe I wanted to. And I talked before about skimming over some of these things, and I've not read the story that it's based off of. I just feel like that story has to be more layered. I feel like that story has to flesh out these characters a bit more, because while this movie was entertaining, and I honestly had a good time with it, I like seeing these Elseworlds type situations, and maybe I don't approach it in a political way like some others do, and that's probably why I got more enjoyment out of it, but I found this to be entertaining from that perspective. But I did want more. I wanted it not to skim over certain things, go from A to B without hitting on all of these character traits. And we definitely do Kal-El. We definitely do this Russian version of Superman that we've never seen before. But I found the writing to be a bit off for this idea. It's almost as if this idea was too big for an hour and 30 minutes. I would have preferred a mini-series because they skip through so much time, and yes, they put the timestamps up on the screen, but it's like we didn't get to soak in these moments with the characters, whether it is a Lois Lane or a Wonder Woman or the fact that this Green Lantern storyline is shoehorned in there so quickly. I just needed more from all of those things. Then you look at the accents. At times, the accents just aren't the best, and that's nothing to take the movie down so many notches, right? But that could have definitely been better. And then the fact that you have all of these political ideas and these themes, and you only skim the surface, that definitely could have been handled better. So overall, I think there were some missed opportunities within this movie. I wanted it to be a bit more from a writing perspective. Maybe the script could have been stronger. Some of the jokes fall a little bit flat, but I still had fun with it. I was entertained, and I like this old-fashioned, this style of animation. It's crazy how this is old-fashioned at this point, but I kind of like the throwback, the fact that they're going this route compared to what they have been doing. I don't know, some of these elements, they spoke to me. They may not necessarily speak to you, but if you guys enjoy this video, if you want more DC animated-centric videos, be sure to let me know, hit that thumbs up button, and comment below. I'm between 68 and 70 with my score. I think I'm going to go with 68%, which is still solid. It's still a movie that I recommend, and I definitely had fun with. It is a story that I wanted them to flesh out some more, but entertainment value is important with these DC animated movies. But I'm curious, if you read the original story, were you a fan of this movie? That's my biggest curiosity. I would love those comments down below. And let me know what stories, what Superman-centric stories do you guys recommend for me to read? I've read a few, but there are definitely some that I've missed out on. So thank you guys so much for the discussion, the conversation, hitting that thumbs up button, and watching this review. My next video most likely is going to be a Batman suit tier list where I rank the best live-action Batman suits. So excited for that video. You guys the best. I'll see you soon.